Along with individual experts, SurgeonMasters brings you life improvement strategies in 10 minutes. These proven principles and strategies are easy to learn and can be applied immediately, allowing you to practice your best. Here's your host, Jeff Smith.
Welcome back to the SurgeonMasters mini podcast. I have with me Dr. Bob Schenck, a professor at the University of New Mexico and chair of the Department of Orthopaedics and Rehabilitation. Welcome, Bob.
Oh, thank you so much, Jeff.
So, Bob, our audience is broader than just orthopedic surgeons. It's all surgeons, but I know that you share some information with your residents and interns. And I know I had the pleasure of actually speaking to your whole group a few months back or in the past on the Joel Lubin visiting professorship. I appreciate that invitation. I was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about you so our audience knows you.
Oh, perfect. I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I've been in academic practice for 31 years. I do sports medicine, but also modicum of trauma. And I've been chair for 15 years at the University of New Mexico. And it's been a phenomenal career helping training residents, supporting residents, and then also supporting and growing faculty in a department. I'm a Westerner. I was born in Texas, grew up in Colorado, went out east to Hopkins for med school and residency. I was there 10 years. And then I came back west. I was in San Antonio, Texas at the university there for 10 years. And now I've been here in New Mexico for 21 years, 2 jobs.
Sounds fantastic. Sounds like a fantastic career, but I imagine that there's bumps along the way and potentially lessons learned or thoughts or wisdom to share with folks. So tell us some of the things that you think are important for other surgeons.
Clearly, understanding your mistakes and understanding those bumps in the road where things happen that didn't turn out the way you wanted to, whether it's your career, maybe it's a family situation. You have to realize that when you lose on something, don't take it as a loss. You really learn from these things, and the people around you that were your teammates when you lost really become your closest friends. Now, I've had partners that were like, well, Bob, you don't want to be making mistakes all the time. You don't want to learn from multiple mistakes, but they happen. And so one of them is med mal. Med mal has really a pernicious effect because every surgeon will say, I've never been sued, but we know for a fact that's not true. There's been some litigation. Everybody goes through it. And I think that's the one thing I really, when I speak to faculty and residents, that litigation is going to happen, but that shouldn't steal your joy from being an orthopedic surgeon. That's just part and parcel of it. Certainly there's different states that have better med mal environments, but you have your environment, you have to live with it. So learning from those issues, those mistakes are critical. And then focusing on a culture of where you want to work. Like looking at the culture when you're a med student interviewing for an orthopedic or general surgery residency. Looking at the culture of the practice you're in. Because if you don't like the culture of what you're seeing, that takes 10 to 15 years to change it. Culture changes are very slow. They're very glacial. And so you've got to look for a culture that you like. And at the University of New Mexico, we've really created a culture that is attractive to a lot of orthopedic-minded medical students who become our residents and our faculty. And I spoke with you earlier about wellness and life balance and professionalism and lack of burnout. And our scores at University of New Mexico are excellent in the Stanford Consortium. Stanford has a group of participating universities that look at wellness, professionalism, and lack of burnout. And orthopedics leads the way. I joked with the residents recently. We have the lowest BO of any department. That's burnout, not body odor. We have the lowest burnout, and we have the highest professional satisfaction for residents and faculty. And I think it's because we created a culture. But that culture, for me, the vision I had, that was a 10 to 12 year process. So look at your culture, because people go into a place and they're like, I'm going to change it. Like, I'm going to go into a marriage. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change my spouse. We know that doesn't work. And likewise, work culture, you have to find what you like and work with like-minded people, because I think that's when you'll find your balance. And if you go to a place and you're like, I don't really like it, but let's make it fit, let's make it work. You might like the town you're living in, but if the culture of your work is off, then eventually that's going to toll on you.
Sounds like a very important message of appreciating the culture and hoping that that culture includes things that lessen burnout, increase wellness. And, perhaps for those who don't have that fit, then maybe figuring out how to be patient with culture change or looking for a change.
Yeah, sounds right. And also try to understand what your culture is, and I'll tell you the easiest thing to look at. Once you've found a group of people that work well and have respect for each other, once you see a group that works professionally, and you and I both know that is the orthopedic surgeon's biggest bugaboo is professionalism. It's the biggest concern. It's where you'll lose your job nowadays. There's high scrutiny for professionalism. And if you see a group of people, orthopedic surgeons, residents, and faculty that work together well professionally, you're on the right track there. It's more than just yes, ma'am, yes, sir. It's being able to listen and not reacting immediately. And you do make mistakes and just apologize for them. I know there may be listeners that like, well, Bob, this is just kumbaya stuff. That a lot of orthopedic surgeons use that term. But really, in this day and age where you have surgeons tired of work, burned out, not having professional satisfaction, I oftentimes think it relates back to professionalism and how you treat each other. And you really have to learn to work together well and enjoy each other's company. You spend a lot of time together with people at work, so you should really look at groups of people and how they work. There's different types of programs. There's very big silo programs that you have where specialties are really locked down into different areas and you can't step into those areas. That's certainly fine. You have to know that going in. Out west where there's sometimes fewer orthopedic surgeons, we oftentimes do a lot of different types of activities. And so if you want to be more of a sort of a broad spectrum orthopedic surgeon, you have to make sure you go into a group that understands that and respects that or wants that.
And it sounds like that's kind of that key message that we'll wrap up on, where professionalism, culture, how would you summarize it?
Do you like where you work, and do you like the people with whom you work? Does that make you happy? And we'll talk a little bit of happiness later, but it really is, do you like the people that you spend a lot of your time with? And do you enjoy it at the end of the day?
That's awesome, Bob. Thanks so much for joining us on this podcast.
My pleasure. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
There you have it. In less than 10 minutes, this is Jeff Smith along with Bob Schenck. Until the next episode of Life Improvement Strategies for the Surgeon Who Wants More. Ciao.
Now, take 10 minutes and put your plan into action to practice your best.